So Ben Gwinzi, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who is joining us. Thank you to our panelists and our guests for being here today and your interest and support of this internship with the Indigenous Peoples Secretariat. Shuri Devlin Fernandes Uji, I serve as Executive Director of Gwich'in Council International, and I'm joining you from Chief Dragi's territory, the land of the Yellowknives Dene First Nation. I am south of the Gwich'in homelands, which the Gwich'in have occupied for millennia as users and stewards of the land, which stretch across present-day Alaska, Yukon, and the Northwest Territories. Gwich'in Council International works to amplify the voice of the Gwich'in Nation at the international stage, primarily as a permanent participant through the Arctic Council, and we are supported by the Indigenous Peoples Secretariat and also have a seat on their governing board. So we are thrilled that they're offering another internship, and we wanted to bring people together to learn more about this opportunity, to hear from some of the folks who have done internships with in the past and have the opportunity to ask questions. So today we are pleased to welcome Anna Degteva, Rosa-Máren Magga from the Indigenous Peoples Secretariat, or IPS, and they are going to tell us a little bit about the Secretariat, the goals of the internship, and some of the activities that are involved. We're also going to hear from three amazing women who have done internships with IPS in the past: Stephanie Campbell, Jennelle Doyle, and Bobbie Jo Greenland-Morgan. They will all introduce themselves when they give their remarks. And so finally, we will introduce, we'll have an opportunity for Q&A. You can also put any questions in the chat as we're going through. The session is being recorded. Please keep yourself on mute with your videos off during the panel, but you're welcome to turn your videos on for the Q&A, and that is for the attendees. Hi, Joe. Thank you for joining us, and I will pass the floor over to IPS. I think we have lost, oh no, we've got, okay, great. Over to you.
Yes, thank you, Devlin. My name is Anna Degteva. I'm the Executive Secretary of Arctic Council Indigenous Peoples Secretariat. I've been in this position for over 5 years now, and originally I come from Russia, from Vepsen Indigenous Peoples, and all my life since I've been in early 20s, I've been either studying or working with the indigenous peoples, both in Russia but internationally. And I would like to give the floor to Rosa-Máren Magga, who is the advisor, and she will briefly speak about IPS.
Yes, thank you, Anna. Puures Puerreäket Munamala Rosa-Máren Magga. I'm Rosa-Máren Magga from Finnish side of Sapmi, from Enontekiö, and currently located in Tromsø, the Norwegian side of Sapmi, where our offices are located. And I've been now working with the IPS as an advisor for almost 3 years, a little bit over 2.5. And I just wanted to give a presentation on briefly tell what is the Arctic Council, what's the role of permanent participants, and then our work at the IPS. So thanks again, Devlin, for and GCI for organizing this. So we can go directly into the what the Arctic Council is. So it's the leading intergovernmental forum promoting cooperation and coordination among the Arctic states and Arctic indigenous peoples on the issues of environmental protection and sustainable development. And it was formally established in 1996. And the structure is, so there are 8 Arctic member states, 6 indigenous permanent participant organizations, 6 working groups, and then also the observer states and organizations. Permanent participants represent the Arctic indigenous peoples in the Arctic Council, and they participate at all levels levels of the Council's work, lead projects, and contribute to the Council's expert work and political proceedings. And here the pictures are just to show that they are actually around the same table with the Arctic states. The 6 permanent participant organizations are Allied International Association, Arctic Athabascan Council, Gwich'in Council International, Inuit Circumpolar Council, Russian Association of Indigenous Peoples of the North, and the Sami Council. And these are all independent organizations, non-governmental organizations that represent their peoples, their values, and their causes. Here, this map, I just wanted to show the homelands of the indigenous peoples that are represented through the permanent participant organizations. So they are all around the Arctic. The permanent participants have identified some themes as a joint priorities for 2022 and 2023 in the IPS work plan. And these important topics or themes that are important for all the permanent participant organizations are Indigenous youth engagement, Arctic Indigenous languages, and Arctic Indigenous peoples cooperation. And these are, of course, then also guiding our work, the daily work. IPS, so the Indigenous Peoples Secretariat, who we are, we have 2 staff members, as we have already introduced. IPS was established already in 1994, which is actually 2 years prior to when the council was established. And in 2016, Indigenous Peoples Secretariat was relocated from Copenhagen to Tromsø in Norway. And we are support secretariat for all 6 permanent participant organizations. And our functions are actually pretty diverse. So our main function is to facilitate the permanent participant organizations participation in the Arctic Council and also enhance their capacity to contribute to the work of the Council. We provide opportunities for communication and cooperation and the coordinated activities among the organizations, but also between them and other Arctic Council bodies. And we then support their actions to maintain, promote the sustainable development of Indigenous peoples' cultures in the Arctic, gather and disseminate information on different forms of knowledge that also includes Indigenous knowledge, and communicate information about the Arctic Council and its results to Indigenous peoples. And in practice, how do we then implement these functions? So in the normal cycle, we of course assist a lot with the meeting support, which includes travel and online logistics, visa applications, assist with translations at request, communication. So permanent participants have their own informal meeting platforms, so-called PP caucuses. So we help to organize this as well as other at requests. Outreach activities include social media, web page, and other communications efforts or publications. And youth engagement. So we help permanent participant youth and assist the youth, Indigenous youth engagement in meetings and events, as well as in different type of training programs. And then, of course, help with a lot of other tasks, and that includes projects and events, and support Arctic Council projects where permanent participants take part. But also with other networking with other institutions in the Arctic as well. So this was briefly about our work and how do we help the permanent participants I will hand over to Anna.
Thank you, Rosa-Máren, for a very beautiful and efficient presentation. I would like just to add that since few years ago, when IPS was relocated to Tromsø, it became a part of Arctic Council Secretariat, a standing secretariat here in Tromsø. So even though IPS has its own board and independent budget and work plan, still we work very closely with our colleagues from the Arctic Council Secretariat, and altogether we are approximately a group of 15 people. And we have very beautiful offices in Fram Center, where a lot of institutions in Norway, Norwegian, but also international institutions who work with Arctic affairs present. And so I believe we have very nice and pleasant working environment. But I would like to add a few words about the goals of the internship and what kind of task would the intern do. One of the main goals of the internship is to contribute to the capacity building of the Arctic youth and young professionals interested in working with Arctic indigenous issues. There are rather few indigenous opportunities for young professionals with such background and interest in international indigenous issues. Therefore, we are strongly convinced that IPS internship is a great opportunity and to both learn and work in the international and multicultural environment and to support indigenous cooperation. Additionally, there are a lot of tasks and work, various work at the Council Indigenous Peoples Secretariat. So we would like to get support and help with a variety of tasks. IPS will provide diverse learning opportunities for the internship. So that's our goal. The intern will be able to work both in group and individually, or he or she will be supervised by both myself, Executive Secretary, and Rosa-Máren, the IPS advisor. So naturally, as at any secretariat, there are quite many administrative tasks, some daily routines, answering emails, logistical support for the meetings and archiving processes. But at the same time, IPS aims to meet the needs of the interns' professional growth in various fields. For example, we expect the intern to assist with the IPS social media and website. We have several exciting new projects in communication and outreach, such as creating an exhibition, creating new outreach materials. But there are also projects that require writing skills and knowledge synthesis. Thus, 2023 IPS internship major task could be to develop a collection of publications authored by indigenous scholars and organizations and relevant to the Arctic Council work. Another potential task could be contributing to desktop studies and summaries of report from an indigenous perspective. This work will be implemented in cooperation with the participants' organizations. Not least important is that there will be opportunity to get a deep understanding about such concepts as the knowledge of indigenous peoples, ethical knowledge co-production, and so forth. In addition, the intern will be offered to participate in the project fundraising, project implementation, project reporting. So I recommend to visit IPS website, arcticpeoples.com, to learn more about Arctic Council permanent participants, IPS, and our work plan, as well as about some projects that IPS has worked and is currently working with. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, both Rosa-Máren and Anna. It was great to have that overview of who is IPS and what do they do, and a little bit more about the internship. Now I am going to pass it over to some of the folks who have worked as interns, and I think it's really important to understand what their experiences were, what they did, and maybe we have 3 women who are kind of based in North America, and what their experience was moving to a different country to take on this internship. So I will, without further ado, pass it to Stephanie, who interned there during 2020. She'll be followed by Jennelle and then Bobbie Jo. Over to you, Stephanie.
Hi, everyone. As Devlin just said, I was the internship with IPS in 2020. So I started in January 2020 and unfortunately finished a couple of weeks early because of COVID, you know, that thing that we all try to forget. But I really enjoyed my experience. I am from Labrador. And part of Nunavut Indigenous organization and group. And I think like part of the main thing that I enjoyed about the internship was getting to know people from other Indigenous groups and seeing the great work that was done across the Arctic states. And one of the main things that I think that I took out of it is that we have more similarities across our Indigenous groups and across the Arctic than we have differences. So it was really great to be able to see that in action, learn more about the different organizations and the great work that was being done there. I guess like going from a small community, I'm from a community of about 300 people. And where I'm currently living is probably only about 8,000 people. So to go to Tromsø was a very different experience. But it was great. And one of the things I think you learn from doing an internship like that and being immersed into a culture that is different but similar than yours is it gives you confidence for other things in your life. And I don't know if Devlin's going to have specific questions which are going to touch on this, but I think like when you're so far removed from everybody you know, you make relationships and you have experiences that definitely change your life. And it's definitely something that I would recommend to other people. My favorite part of the internship would probably be when we went to Gwich'in. I went with Anna to an Indigenous Peoples of the Arctic food conference. And originally it was going to be, a bit of a bigger conference, but things started to happen. People started to hear more about COVID, but we're like, well, that's not going to be a huge thing. We'll be fine. It'll be all okay. And we met with so many great people, and it was like an intimate group in regards to you really get to know people specifically, try foods that you've never had before. I remember one time in particular, just like from a food perspective, Anna invited me to her home for a meal, and she cooked reindeer tongue, which is the first time I ever had that, and it was great. And the thing that I think I would recommend to people would be to just say yes, just try it, try different things, different experiences. And I took that home with me. There were things that I didn't, I don't like that, or I don't know about doing that. And since I came back, I have done and tried everything. So I think that was probably the greatest thing. It's, just try something new, open your eyes to different things and different cultures and different experiences. And I promise you won't regret it.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Really helpful. And I hadn't, maybe I had forgotten that you had gone to the Food Congress. And so it's really great to hear that highlight of that experience. Jennelle, next.
Just one more thing there was going to the Indigenous community. It was a different experience as well from Tromsø. Tromsø was great, and you got to see where the work happens, but like to actually go to the Indigenous community was really great. It felt like home away from home, and everyone was so welcoming and great. So definitely my highlight.
All right, I am excited to hear about Jennelle's experience next.
So atilha iluna si Jennelle Vunga Amalu Labrador Nyungu Vunga My name is Jennelle, and I'm also from Labrador. So I was the IPS intern in 2018. I definitely echo a lot of what Anna and Stephanie had said, in that my experience with IPS definitely showed me that the IPS is really committed to capacity building for youth, and really taking you out into the field more so than keeping you in the office, which is something that I valued a lot. And like Stephanie, it definitely opened my eyes to a lot of things. I was coming to the experience from just finishing my undergraduate degree. So I was immediately finished, and then I was on a plane a couple months later. So I was going from comfort and everything I knew, and being around all my family and friends that I had made, to knowing nobody and knowing nothing. It was really great to go to Kautokeino, like Stephanie had said. I was really interested in learning about the similarities and differences between how caribou are treated between cultures. Like in Labrador, we're having a lot of trouble with caribou at the moment still. So I was really grateful to be welcomed and to be able to have things like caribou tongue and caribou meat again, or reindeer meat, I guess would be the more correct term. But and I also helped to create a little bit of a course about the Arctic Council to teach other folks about what the Arctic Council does. So I felt like I was really involved in a lot of the work that was going on, and I could not stop talking about my experience to everyone when I came home, because I really do think that, you know, as youth from small communities, we feel so limited sometimes. There's so many barriers to do things. And I think it's so important that we get out there and that we become more involved, so that we can have an impact moving forward. Because, you know, if you never leave home, you're never going to see what's out there. You're never going to make those connections, and you're never going to be able to learn from others as well. So, and I will say too that my experience transferred over into what I'm doing now. So I'm currently a master's student, and we're actually talking a little bit about like information management for Inuit Circumpolar Council in one of my courses. So it's, no matter what your interest is, the IPS has something there that can transfer and carry you through your career. So
That's great. Thank you very much, Jennelle, and those kind of words of, I mean, echoing Stephanie, of just saying yes to trying things, and then being able to think about what some of those barriers are and just getting over them to give both sort of confidence and opportunities is wonderful to hear. Next, it is my real pleasure to pass it on to Bobbie Jo, who I have learned lots from in my time as staff at Gwich'in Council International. But Bobbie Jo worked with IPS before they moved to Tromsø. And I would ask, you know, if you can tell us a bit about yourself and your experience, but also as you look back, you know, 15 plus years from doing that, what impact did it have on you, and any advice you would give to folks thinking about applying?
Okay. Masicho, I really appreciate the invite for being a part of this panel today. Van Guinzi, good morning to everyone. Shuri, Bobbie Jo Greenland-Morgan Vaji, Old Crow and Aklavik, Quetzat Inli. I have a very mixed ancestry, but most identify with my Gwich'in roots, which are of Editat Gwich'in of Aklavik and Vantat Gwich'in of Old Crow. It's a pleasure to be here today. As Devlin mentioned, I was a past intern, much older than the young interns we heard from today. I was actually, my internship was back in 2005 and 2006. It was a 6-month internship back then. But even in that 6 months, I gained a lot of valuable skills and knowledge through the experiences that I had with the internship. And I think overall it contributed to my professional and personal growth. I developed a huge network, many of whom I still keep in contact with today. My internship was, of course, great programs will never be successful without partnership. And when I took the program, it was a partnership between, well, the federal government, International Institute of Sustainable Development, and the program, the internship was called Circumpolar Young Leaders Program. So I applied. I was hesitant, being a very small town girl. I grew up in a community of, in its biggest pop days were probably under between 900 to 1,000 people. And then now today it's like maybe about 600. So I often was hesitant to take opportunities in life, but because of the support and the guidance and the teachings of my parents, grandparents, I was always encouraged to pursue goals that I set out to do, and most importantly to carry them through. So it was a challenge to be away for six months, especially in a different country, in a huge city, in Copenhagen. That's where IPS was situated then. But I have no regrets. It was a really good opportunity. I was a junior advisor there, where I provided daily administration support to the senior advisor, who was Ilona Yefemenko, and the executive director at the time was Runa Thalem, I believe I can't remember how to pronounce his Finnish last name. But there we were. I was part of this small but very influential, powerful team that served as the resource body for the Indigenous peoples, the 6 permanent participants, the Arctic Council. So looking back, I would say that what I remember most of what I learned in that office with my mentors were learning about the Indigenous cultures, the differences, the uniquenesses, most importantly, working with them, supporting them to have their voices heard at the highest level possible. We worked and helped them with things like Indigenous policy development. We were looking at things like climate change issues, cultural preservation, food security, Indigenous rights. Just ensuring that Indigenous peoples are being treated fairly on a global scale. So we also, in that time frame, I had the opportunity to collaborate and work with the International Working Group of Indigenous Affairs, who's also based in Copenhagen, and we had another intern who was placed there. So it was really great networking overall. It opened up a lot of doors for me. And I think that's what's really important about when you're considering these opportunities, is to just be open-minded, as one of the other interns had said, and be willing to learn, because there is so much to learn out there. And this internship provides you just such a broad experience. In my 6 months, I had opportunity to travel to Russia and attend the Arctic Council Senior Arctic Officials meeting at that time. So that was a really good experience. And also I was able to attend ICARP, which is International Conference on Arctic Research. It was hosted in Copenhagen that year, fortunately for me, so I was able to attend. And it was actually at that conference where I had the unexpected but memorable experience of meeting the Crown Prince of Denmark, Frederik. Very being a small town girl and not knowing the royal protocol, I just approached him and I was wearing my Gwich'in indigenous dress, and that caught his attention too. So he was very nice. He let me just introduce myself, and I told him where I was from and what I was doing in Copenhagen, and he kindly allowed a photo. So one of my memorable moments. So just an example for interns that are interested in applying. You just never know. You never know what's going to happen, and you never know what you're going to experience and the people you're going to meet. So I really encourage folks to apply. So to Devlin's, thinking back to what she asked me to sum up, overall, I think these opportunities led to more opportunities, and it allowed me to really also, what's important to me, share my culture and experience other cultures as well. It was a very, I look back now and just thinking about it while we're talking, it's such an experience that I very grateful for. And it still today helps me in my work and the work that I've done since. So after the internship in 2006, I returned home and I went back to work for my people, working for Renewable Resources, Gwich'in Renewable Resource Board. And I was working in the communications area. And then I received the opportunity to work for the Premier of the Government of the Northwest Territories. And it was my internship that caught his attention. And because at the time he also had the portfolios of the Indigenous Affairs, and Arctic Council was really becoming a big, everyone was talking about Arctic Council and, what the Arctic Council does and the importance of the work and all these other things that he had on his portfolio. So it opened up the door for me there, and I took the opportunity, and I had a wonderful learning experience there as well for 2 years before I resigned. It was a great job, but my husband and I at the time decided that we were going to have a child, and of course after that, that wasn't the job for me. But it opened more doors. So just building it, it's about taking your experiences and building on them. And then through that, I just went on to work in other areas. I served on many different councils and boards and committees following the internship, such things as Gwich'in Council International. I served on that board. Gwich'in Renewable Resource Board. I served my home community of Aklavik, elected me to serve as a council member on the hamlet of Aklavik, which is the municipal governing body of the community. I'm grateful for that opportunity. I also served on territorial advisory committees for education and training, for income support appeals committee. I served on Beaufort Delta Education Council, or currently still am, as on the executive board. All this kind of really helped build my confidence in leadership skills, and building the confidence in public speaking, and getting over the discomforts and shyness that I've always had as a little girl to speak in public. But I think all of these experiences really instilled my passion and belief in Indigenous peoples and Indigenous rights, not just my own Indigenous people, but the whole world. So that really, made me see the importance. So I then decided, okay, I'm going to try my hand in politics. So in 2016, I put my name forward and ran in the elections for Gwich'in Tribal Council. And fortunately, I was honored and grateful that I was elected as the first woman to ever be elected to the role of president, later called Grand Chief of the Gwich'in Tribal Council. I served my 4-year term and decided not to seek re-election after that 4 years. But what I did was I just took some time off for my family at the time, and I eventually returned where I am right now. I join you today from the Gwich'in settlement area in Inuvik, where the Gwich'in Tribal Council office is. And right now I currently serve as the Gwich'in government strategic advisor to the leadership and the negotiating team who are currently negotiating self-government. So a very important and interesting process to be involved in. I recently, talking about boards and councils, I stepped away for a bit, but then now I recently accepted an invitation, and it's an invitation to serve on the Program Advisory Committee for the Arctic and Northern Challenge Program. And that's through the National Research Council of Canada. So exciting opportunity. I'm looking forward to starting that. We have our first meeting next week. And when I look back, I feel that it was the internship that I had at the Indigenous Peoples Secretariat that really helped shape me to be able to take on all these different roles that I've mentioned. If it wasn't for the internship, I believe that I probably might have taken a different career path. So I'm very grateful for that internship opportunity. And for anyone who's listening into our panel, I encourage you, if this opportunity, is pulling at you and it sounds like something you're really interested in doing, I really encourage you to apply, because you won't know, right? You won't know until you apply, and you won't know the opportunities that you could have if you don't take those chances and those risks. And I admit, like I mentioned earlier, I admit that I had some self-doubts in even applying, but I look back now and I'm so grateful that I did. You get to be a part of a voice helping other Indigenous peoples bring their voice to help make lives better overall. this advisory committee that I said I'm excited to start on next week. I'm excited about it because it gives me the opportunity to bring a Northern Indigenous voice to this table, and we'll be looking at areas, important areas such as health, housing, food and water, and generally the health and well-being of the people in the region, the Arctic region where I live. So really looking forward to that. Overall, I think the program, the experience, so very valuable, helped me develop my skills and knowledge in many ways, and develop friendships and working relationships that I still cherish and keep connected with many people to this day. Overall, it gave me a deeper understanding and appreciation for Indigenous rights worldwide, for my own homelands. I always love my home and proud to be from where I am. But when you live away for 6 months in a different country, and you appreciate and you learn the different cultures and the way of life, it also helps you to deepen your appreciation for what you have back home and the history, right? Learning the history of the people worldwide. It's really important to know Indigenous history worldwide, not just your own Indigenous group, but everyone's, and the people, the culture. Overall, just a really great experience. And with that, I hope I answered all of your questions, Devlin, but totally open for further questions if anyone has any. And again, just encouraging those who are on. I know I've sent this link out to many who I think would benefit from this opportunity, and I really do hope to see a lot of applicants. Masicho.
Masicho, everyone, Bobbie Jo, Jennelle, Stephanie, for sharing those experiences. It's really, I think, helpful and inspiring to hear, how you took that courage and took that strength and took the support of people in your life to then be in a completely new community, be in a place that was, in all of your cases, much larger than you were used to. I have some questions, but I'm also going to put the link to the Indigenous Peoples Secretariat website in the chat. And if anyone who's online wants to ask any questions, please put them in the chat, and I will ask them to the panel. You can either identify if there's a specific panel member, or we can host everyone. So I will first take this chance to maybe put Stephanie and Jennelle on the spot, because both of you did your internships in Tromsø. And what was it like going from a small community to Tromsø, and what were your sort of coping strategies for being in a new place? What advice would you give others who are going to take that leap?
I can start if you would like. For me, the biggest difference, or the thing that was interesting to me, was Tromsø. I think here in Labrador especially, I used to complain if I had to walk across the street to go into a building type thing. When I was in Tromsø, I lived in this really great place that Anna found for me, not very far from work, but people were more encouraged to go outside. People walked to work, people walked to this beautiful city center. People love to ski. Anna brought me to this great swimming pool, which was amazing. And it was just different, because when I came home, I kind of took that with me. I think within a week of being here, I bought my own pair of cross-country skis, and that was helpful, especially when I came back and it was COVID. And you just kind of get an appreciation for doing those things, and it just kind of it disrupts your routine and your way of thinking to something that's better. And I honestly feel healthier because of that experience. So that was something that I found different. And also what I loved about Tromsø as well was how safe it felt and welcoming. You could walk down the road late at night, or there was very little sunlight when I was there from January till March. So that was something that I didn't think would affect me as much as it did, but it was interesting. But you appreciated the sunlight more when there was those hours you were like, oh no, I can't sleep in. I have to get outside for this amount of time. So I think that was, some of the big differences, but some of the things that I liked. And in regards to making friends and getting to know people, it's kind of find out what people like to do. And I like to eat and swim. So, that was kind of became our thing. Alona would go skiing with her and her daughter. There were other people who had a dog and I missed my dog. So we would go for walks. So there's different things like that. You just kind of need to find what other people are interested in and, make it known that, you're interested in those things too. And I think that really made a lot of my experiences and my relationships were, kind of finding things in common with people and making sure you get outside. And it helps when you make those relationships when you are homesick. The time difference was a big thing for me. It was 6 hours time difference. So, you come home from work and most of your friends and your family are already gone to bed. So it's a bit lonely from that perspective, but you find different ways to adjust to that. But the walking is definitely something that I've taken more back with me now. I do have to say I have slipped a little bit in the last year, but it was really great to just get out of my norm, change my way of thinking, eating healthier. Even just from my perspective, when I was there, it was an unpaid internship. We received funds and everything from the Indigenous Peoples Secretariat and also with the university that I was there too. But it was just, you look at things differently, and just grocery shopping in a different language. It's, there's some certain things that you recognize or certain things that you adjust to. But like I said before, it really gives you confidence that, you went to a country where people weren't primarily, speaking your language, or you didn't know anyone and you brought it back into different things. So my mom tells me I came back fearless from Norway. So I like that.
Yeah, my experience was somewhat similar. I found that I was really leaning on my family back home to get over the homesickness. I felt really homesick a lot of the time, but you have to make a conscious effort to make that not as bad as it needs to be. If you're just staying in and being lonely all the time, well, then you're going to be lonely all the time. So I also like to walk around Tromsø quite a bit. It's a really nice place. I found tours online that I would just sign up for and go and do in my spare time. We also, Anna and I went to Kautokeino for the Easter Festival. So I got to meet people from going there during the Sami Easter Festival, which was really fun. And I also, I was training for powerlifting at the time. So I found a gym and I just enrolled in a gym, which was really close to the office. So in some ways I kept my old routine, which made me feel comfortable. And in some ways I expanded and tried new things. So for me, it was about a balance of comfort and trying new things so that you don't feel so out of place, I guess.
Thank you. I know I'm going to put Rosa-Máren on the spot with my next question, but I also know that, both Anna and Rosa-Máren have moved to Tromsø for your jobs with IPS. And so I know when I went for a visit there, they were very wonderful hosts at showing off different parts of the city and the experiences, but also sort of learning. And with the Arctic Council Secretariat being in the same physical space as the Indigenous Peoples Secretariat, there is a bit of a team there to support people who are coming in and learning as well. But so if either of you want to speak to also how your relocations to Tromsø went, I would welcome that. But my question for Rosa-Máren is, about this internship. So we've heard a little bit about IPS, we've heard about what people's experiences were. Tell us about how do people actually apply and where do they find details on the specific requirements to make sure that if anyone is interested, again, they can sort of get over the hump of the confidence to apply and put their names forward. When is the deadline and what do they have to do to express that interest?
Yes, that's a great question. So first of all, the deadline is on 12th of March. So the applications need to be sent to us before that. And how to send the application? We asked the applicants to send their applications to our email, ips@arctic-council.org, and send the letter of interest and the resume. And then all the detailed requirements and the detailed job posting can be also found on our website. So there you can find all the necessary details that are relevant to the IPS internship. And I can maybe just briefly tell about my relocation. So I moved here in August 2020, which is the mid of the pandemic. So of course it was a little bit different that time, but I really love the opportunities in Tromsø to go outdoors and explore the nature. It's so close by, and you can just after work go on a short hike or for a short ski, and that's, I think, one of the best sides living in Tromsø.
Thanks, Rosa. And just to clarify, the application, is there is there a template, or you're asking for people to submit a letter of interest and a resume about why they want the internship, and then that's how they apply?
Yes, so we asked people to send the letter of interest and the CV to our email.
Great. My next question, and maybe this is both for Rosa-Máren and Anna, is then once people send their application in, what's the sort of timeline, or what's the process that they might hear back? And when do you hope that they will end up in Tromsø for you?
Thank you, Devlin, and thank you everyone for the great description of IPS internship. It was so warm to listen about it and to remember again. Yeah. The process may vary of evaluation of application. There will be a committee which evaluates all the applicants. I have to admit that we already got a lot of applicants. I think we might expect over 70 applicants at the deadline, maybe more. So it's, but however, we will view every application, and we will have a committee which we will evaluate the applications. And usually the process, when there are so many applicants, the process might take time because we really want to give a fair time to every applications. There will be also interview process online. Several applicants will be selected for, there might be two interviews. But anyway, I don't want to discourage anyone. I think everyone who has an interest in this job should apply. And we hope that Intern can start the position already in June, during June 2023. The goal is to have the internship for 10 up to 12 months, let's say, approximately 10, 12. It will depend on the tasks. Yeah, so it's actually a quite long period, and I was thinking during our meeting today that it might be homesick. So we hope that there will be opportunities to travel home for Christmas. And I also noticed that a lot of our colleagues underlined that they could participate in many social activities, and also Bobbie Jo gave a great overview of various professional areas. But this is what we want also to offer. We want the intern to have an opportunity to attend real meetings and learn from that experience. So this we will really encourage. But I think that nowadays we have all the social media. It's so easy to keep in touch with the family. And Bobbie Jo was in 2005, and what, the smartphone didn't exist. Did you have to call on the ordinary phone to talk to your mom?
Yeah, I did. It is funny. Yeah, I didn't have a cell phone when I went over there, and trying to figure out a payphone that was just down the street from where my apartment was a challenge. And I ended up yeah, using the phone at the office and having to phone, but the time difference was always a challenge. So emails, and that's where I actually started looking at social media things that were available back then and getting on there, and that's how I kept in touch.
Yeah, great. But many people notice, there are a lot of social opportunities. Tromsø is a very dynamic place, and there is a quite big university, and so a lot of young people live in Tromsø. So it's yeah, a lot of festivals happen, and we hope. Also, I truly believe that all our colleagues at the Arctic Council Secretariat are also very nice friends. So it's nice to spend time together, and people have so diverse interests. It's amazing. So for me, time flies. Yeah, but I do keep in touch also with my family, of course, through social media. But I used to know Tromsø. I moved here again 5 years ago, but I was a student here in the beginning of 2000s. So I knew Tromsø, and I think it's one of the most beautiful places in the world I've been to, and offers a lot of fun things and a lot of activities. A lot of conferences happen. There is an airport, you can fly. So I think from both social and professional point of view, Tromsø is quite an important city in the Arctic. Many international organizations actually are located here. So I think it's a great opportunity.
Thank you. I'll make a few comments, and then if anyone else on the panel has any last words they want to say, we'll do a round table. I would highlight from Gwich'in Council International that if there's interest in this, people should absolutely apply. And if there's many more applicants, and I would love to see some Gwich'in applicants in there, we would love to offer other opportunities afterwards as well. And so I think that this really does open doors, and if people are wanting to learn more about Arctic Indigenous peoples and wanting to learn more about the work that happens in the Arctic, even if this internship doesn't work or you're not successful, please keep in touch with the permanent participant organizations and IPS, because there are lots of opportunities to have. The other piece is that the Arctic Council, as Rosa-Máren mentioned, is made up of states that have territory in the Arctic and Indigenous peoples organizations and observers. But the Arctic Council chairship rotates every 2 years, and Norway will be hosting the Arctic Council for the period of when the intern is in place. And I also think that's going to be really exciting, because not only will the intern be working at IPS and in Tromsø, is that I expect there to be a lot of activities happening in Norway during that time. Domestically, Norway's releasing their Truth and Reconciliation Commission in June. There's lots of exciting activities happening. So maybe we'll do a quick roundup. If anyone has any final words, we'll go in the order that people spoke: Anna, Rosa-Máren, Stephanie, Jennelle, and Bobbie Jo.
Yes, I just want to echo everyone and invite everyone to apply for this opportunity. And also underline that the tasks which interns are going to do could meet the interest of someone who is more interested in social science, but also in natural science. So actually there are opportunities with Arctic Council. We have opportunities to work interdisciplinary, and this is quite unique. Also, yeah, we will really try to meet your interests. And we also will do our best to provide opportunities for you to learn and to grow as a professional and from personal points of view. So everyone is welcome.
Yeah, and I just echo what Anna said, that we really encourage all of those who are interested in working with Indigenous issues, or interested in Arctic Indigenous peoples and Arctic issues to apply. And with that note, that the sort of like the only requirement of for this internship is that all the applicants for this position must be a citizen of one of the 8 Arctic states. So to meet that requirement, yeah, we invite people to apply.
So I think what I'd like to say in closing is that little bit of doubt that's in your mind saying, can I do this? Would I be chosen for it? Don't listen to it. Push it aside. I never thought that I would have this experience. Like I would never have dreamed before I was chosen for this internship that would have been my experience. And sometimes when I think about it, I'm like, was that even real? Like, did that even happen? And it did. It's like I lived in Norway. I learned in Norway. I made friends in Norway. And I remember when I applied, I didn't think that I would ever be chosen. And then when I was offered the position, I had an email half wrote being like, I can't do this. Like, this is crazy. I can't leave my job. I can't leave my family. There's always reasons not to do things in life, but just go for it. Just jump off the cliff. Just do it. There'll be someone there to catch you, and I promise you won't regret it. You know, one of my favorite sayings is get comfortable being uncomfortable. And this makes you uncomfortable, but it also makes you grow. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody from the Indigenous Peoples Secretariat and from Arctic Council and Devlin. Devlin was a great friend to me when I was over there. We met at a conference, but I think we bonded. And you know, you make friendships and relationships like that, and it honestly changed my life. Sometimes it sounds so corny to hear, but like it completely 100% changed me as a person. It changed my life. It changed the course of my life. And I would definitely recommend it to you. And don't think about, you know, what am I going to do? Where am I going to live? What am I going to do with my cat? Like, just, you know, you just have to do it. I would 100% recommend it. And, you know, don't even listen to the people that might be around you to say, what, are you crazy? Like, are you going to go do that? Just do it. Just do it for you. And the thing that I learned from being there during COVID as well is don't save things for the end. Like when you're over there, live every day like this is your last day at your internship. Like your family situation or anything like that could change. COVID happened. I never ever expected COVID to happen. And there were certain things there that I need to come back to Tromsø to do because I had kind of planned it more towards the end and things like that. So every day you're over there, treated it like your last kind of thing because you know, you never know what's going to happen in life. And I would love to come back for a visit, so guys, like, keep me in mind if there's anything else in the future. But 100% recommend it. And the other thing as well, there was an Instagram account that I really liked when I was in Norway and thinking about going to Norway, and it's called Visit Tromsø. You can find it on Instagram, and it's beautiful pictures. There's pictures of food, there's pictures of the beautiful landscape, the animals, everything. I still follow it, and sometimes I'll share it or I'll send it to like my mom or I'll send it to someone and be like, I'm so homesick for Norway. I want to go back there. And it's a great starter page, and you can go on there and you can find other accounts, and you know, you can see what you're interested in. But and I'm not affiliated with the account at all, but I did really enjoy it. And I think you could really see some beautiful pictures there. Thank you, everyone.
I forgot the order, but I'll go now. I would just say that no matter how small a community you're from, or no matter how remote or isolated it is, you can apply to stuff like this because your experience matters and your voice matters. So it's really good to put yourself out there and get those experiences and bring that back to your community after, or keep going with international experiences. You really have to make it your own, and your community is going to support you no matter what you do, your family, and you'll find support wherever you go. So just go for it and make the most of it. And you never know who else you could inspire to make those decisions for themselves in the end as well.
Thank you, everyone. I agree and appreciate all the comments made. It's just thinking of what Jennelle just talked about, support and who inspires you. And an individual that just came to mind just right that second was Mary Simon. In my internship, it's when I first met Mary. I was able to meet her. She came over to Copenhagen. And over the years, we kept in touch through our different work. I was able to sit at tables with her when I worked for the premier of the NWT. And in my political short 4-year term, I was able to meet with her in her capacity then when she was the ministerial special representative when they were working with Arctic policy framework. I was able to sit at tables with her then. And as you know, she is now our Governor General. Anyways, I just wanted to mention her because she is a strong Indigenous leader, role model, and someone who supported me from the very first time I met her and still today. So I just wanted to give that recognition, and also just to encouraging all applicants. I really would like to see a lot of Gwich'in applicants, just because I'm Gwich'in, and we do have a lot of Gwich'in in NWT, Yukon, and Alaska. And I would like to encourage all you who feel this is a good opportunity calling to you to reach out to me at any time if you'd like some help with the application process, or if you need a support letter. You know, we could always use support. And looking back to when I first applied, I had support from various chiefs at the time, and whether it just be a support of words of encouragement or financial support, you know, there's all sorts of things in place now, more so than in 2005. So I really do encourage you to apply. And just remember that even if you don't get selected, I really believe that there's value in the experience itself of the whole process of just applying and the interviewing, being interviewed, and the people you're going to meet along the way. And it will open up networks, and it may lead to other opportunities. So yeah, please apply. And please reach out to me if I can be of any assistance. Thank you.
Masicho, Haicho, everyone. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for people who joined us online. Thank you to all the panel members. Again, the information is in the chat on the Arctic Indigenous Peoples website, and you know how to apply. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to anyone you have seen today. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.